Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name is Kieran and we are live at UC Expo. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Ollie Pruden, UC Manager at Rothschild. Ollie, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, happy to be here today and hoping to pick up some nice and interesting facts and see some speeches.
Absolutely, and speaking of speeches, you've got one later on that's very interesting. I'm sure a lot of our audience would appreciate having some of your insights on that. So I think it was quite interesting about how the idea of standardising and optimising platforms for users across an organisation is actually a challenge that pretty much every business and every organisation faces. To do that, naturally you need effective training for these users. So in your mind, what does effective training look like?
So effective training, I think, should be adaptable. So you should be able to stay up to date with what's going on in the marketplace, what features are being released. So let's say Microsoft alone has 76 product updates going on in the Teams space. That's not taking into account Copilot, Teams Premium, everything that we do with look at Zoom, Blue Jeans. So making sure that you're aware and your team's aware of what's going on in the marketplace, and then try to simplify it as much as possible. We also work very closely with risk and compliance. So when we're looking at features that are being released, we want to make sure that we're releasing ones that are not only useful to the business, but also make sure that our bankers are working in a secure manner.
Terrific. And I think it's interesting, one of the challenges within this structure of trying to optimise is when there's so many new and advanced features being released for these platforms practically every month at this stage, while you are trying to optimise how users use them, what is the balancing act you have to find where you want to leverage these new features while keeping the platforms themselves intuitive and accessible for users in the organisation?
So the first part is we have our digital employee experience committee. So we have the voice of the users. So we have our champions in the business. We try to understand how they work. And then look at what features are being released and go, oh, right, well, actually, for this business case, this feature would be very useful. And then you combine the two of those and go, right, what's the business case for building this out? What controls do we need to put in place? Do we speak to legal, risk, compliance? And you also think about that geographically and regionally. So what might be good for a set of users in the United States might be very different to a set of users in Switzerland because of the legal and regulatory I don't want to say things that get in the way, but the things you have to take into account in those countries. And again, might be different to Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong. So understanding what the user cases are, understanding the controls that you need to put in place, speaking to the relevant teams, and then saying, right, well, here's how we lay it out. So putting down your low-level design so that we can say, right, well, actually, for these users, here's how this is going to work. Go through it, have your pilot group, do your proof of value, then release it, make sure that with the training that has been communicated locally to those users and then globally if it's being rolled out globally.
That's great, so it's a very holistic approach. Speaking specifically as the tech manager for a bank, obviously you have a very unique and specific challenges you faced yourselves in terms of how you're utilising this technology across the company. What are some of the unique challenges as the tech manager for a bank that you've come across and are relevant today in 2023?
So I think, again, a lot of it be around regulatory and compliance. That we have 50 offices in 30 countries, so what we can do for users in the UK, we can't do for users potentially in Guernsey. What we can do for users in the UK and can't do in Guernsey, we might be able to do in France, Germany. So compliance call recording is a big one. That's different wherever you go, where you want to meet the threshold defined by that regulatory body, which can be different crossing a border that's 10 miles away. So taking those things into account is a lot of work. Making sure you're keeping up to date with those guidelines, so it's constantly being in touch with the local compliance teams, making sure they're happy with what's going on, going through reviews, making sure that everything's auditable, and then also making sure that the user training's there so that when you're making a change, like what can be a very small change on a platform, can be a very big change in the way the user reacts to that platform. So turning off meeting recording, for example, but still having one-to-one calling, internal calling, or external meetings enabled. So making sure that users are aware of the nuances of flicking one switch could have large implications from a compliance point of view as to how a user interacts with any platform, whether it's WebEx, BlueJeans, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. So yeah, making sure that we're constantly speaking to those teams, making changes, and then notifying users through localized training or, again, global training.
Terrific. There's a lot of diligence in there. But I think that's all we've got time for today. But so thanks, Ollie, for joining us.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me, and keep up the good work.
I've been Kieran of UC Today. We're live at UC Expo. Thanks for watching.